In this video, we are going to be looking at lifestyle design. Upon hearing the term lifestyle design, you'd be forgiven if you just think of it as sitting on the beach, with a tropical drink in one hand, and in the other, a laptop in which you are running your part-time business with little to no effort. But this is just mostly marketing. Even Tim Ferriss admits that the 4-hour work week is somewhat of a misnomer. But what does it actually mean? Lifestyle design is looking into the kind of life you want to live, what you hope to achieve, and what kind of person you want to be. In short, it is about finding the ideal life that is best for you. So, how do we go about designing our ideal life? I have created a simple acronym that takes certain elements of lifestyle design that can be useful for anyone looking to create a more healthy, meaningful, and productive future. That acronym is IDEAL. So, what does IDEAL stand for? I is for identify, as in identifying what you truly want for your future. D is for designing a plan, which sets out a map for getting you to your desired destination. E is the execution of that plan. This is the most critical part of the process, as nothing will change unless you take action. A is adjusting the plan, because you will no doubt learn along the way what is, and what isn't working. L is for leverage. By applying the power of leverage, you will be able to get a lot more from a lot less. We will go through each of these in more detail, so that by the end of this video you will have a step-by-step process to design your ideal life. So, starting with identifying what you want for your future. I find that the best way to approach this is to complete a 15-minute exercise and answer the following question. If there were no limitations, what would your perfect average day look like? Think about it. Life is made up of individual days, and if you string enough days together where you experience health, meaningfulness, and productivity, then you will have a healthy, meaningful, and productive life. Obviously, not every day will be the same, and in fact, if it were, it would become rather monotonous. So what you are trying to do is imagine the perfect day at a general level. I would like to stress that you shouldn't expect a clear and well-defined vision overnight. Identifying what you truly want for your life requires time and reflection. It is also something you need to continually review to ensure your vision is still aligned to your values and beliefs. Finally, although you will be identifying your ideal lifestyle, there is no one ideal. Don't get caught up on some notion that you only have one true purpose in life, and that if you don't find that purpose then you have somehow missed the boat. This is simply nonsense. An aspect of lifestyle design is experimentation. Sometimes you simply have to identify what you want more broadly. For instance, you may want to start a part-time business that you can grow over time, but have yet to narrow down exactly what that business will be. If you at least identify that this is something you want to pursue, you can plan for it, and then take action, and research potential businesses that fit with who you are, and what you want to accomplish. So with that said, you should set time aside to do this exercise. Find time where you will be free from distraction and begin by imagining your ideal day at some future point. It could be any point, but I would suggest between 2 to 5 years. It is best to use your imagination for this exercise, and it should be fun and inspiring, so don't hold back. You may be wondering where to start. Simply start at the beginning of that day. What time would you be waking up? Where would you be waking up? Would you be living in your own home, or is your ideal to travel the world and break free from the confines of a single location, like some life designers seek to do? Perhaps it is a bit of both. Own your ideal home, while also having the freedom to travel more often. What is your first priority for the day? Is it meditating? Is it a morning run? Is it breakfast? If it is a morning run, is it along the beach, or through the park? If it is breakfast, what would you be eating? Who will you be eating breakfast with? Better still, who will be in your life, and what do you want from your relationships? Looking at the rest of your day, what will you be doing? What career will you have? Perhaps you will be running your own business. How would you spend your free time? How have you grown over the last few years? What have you learned, and what new skills have you acquired? When doing this exercise, you may be envisioning a significant change from where you are now. It is easy to fall into the trap of asking, how could I possibly accomplish this? This is simply the wrong question at this point. We will come on to the question of how later. But for now, focus on what it is you want, without limitations or consequences. Moving to designing a plan, the main aim is to break down the vision you have created into smaller, shorter-term goals that will lead you to your ideal life, and then identify the critical actions you need to take to achieve these goals. It is important at this stage to slow down and pause before taking action. Because, after creating an inspiring vision, there is usually a strong urge to just get out there and make things happen. Although it is good to take quick action so as to gain momentum, taking some time up front to plan can be beneficial, as it will allow you to focus your time and energy more effectively, reducing the overall time and effort needed to reach your goals. There are 3 keys to designing an effective plan. The first is to keep the implementation in mind as part of the planning process. A plan that isn't actionable is not a good plan. What makes a plan actionable is to keep it specific and as simple as possible. The second 2 keys will help to keep implementation at the forefront as you design your plan. The second key then is to plan for the short term, and I mean short. You should be looking at only 30, 60, or 90-day time frames. Anything longer and it becomes harder to know what actions are needed, and a plan becomes harder to implement over the long term. We need to move away from the New Year's resolution mindset, where goals are set on an annual basis. People will often think, I am going to crush it this year. But what usually ends up happening? They do well in the first week or 2, then lose focus. They then fail to get back on track straight away, as in their mind, the goal deadline is a whole year away. If you only have 30 days, for example, and you fall off track, you don't have the luxury of just sitting around. You have to get back on track. Short-term planning allows you to keep your goals manageable and make them less daunting, which leads us to the third key to designing an effective plan. Focus on just 1 or 2 areas that you want to improve, and set your goals on these. This doesn't mean that you are not going to turn your attention to other areas at some point in the future, but having a short-term goal allows you to really focus your time and energy, rather than spreading yourself thin by trying to accomplish everything at the same time. Plus, the fewer goals in your plan, the easier it will be to execute your plan. Moving to E, in our ideal model, which is the execution of the plan. This is where most plans fail. There are a few reasons why plans are not properly executed. The first, as mentioned before, is that the plan was not designed with implementation in mind. Secondly, a plan tends to be harder to implement where no specific actions have been identified, or time has not been properly allocated to execute those actions. When it comes to goals, there tends to be too much focus on the outcome. Instead, the focus should be on the specific actions, or inputs, that are needed to ensure a plan is properly executed, as you tend to have less control over an outcome than you do the inputs. For instance, over the next 60 days you may have a goal of losing 10 pounds, but if you focus solely on the outcome, then the chances of actually achieving this goal are greatly reduced. The reason for this is that progress towards achieving this outcome is hard to measure, even though it is very specific and is something that can be objectively measured. In the first week, you may lose 2 pounds, and in seeing this progress, you are likely to stay motivated. However, anyone who has ever tried to lose weight knows that at some point you will hit a plateau. Another scenario where progress will feel slow is where there is no weight loss during the first few weeks. Quite often there can be a delay between the inputs and the outcome. Economists call this the time lag effect. Where you experience a plateau or time lag, it will no doubt feel like you aren't making headway, and it will become all too easy to feel frustrated and lose motivation. Focusing on inputs, on the other hand, will allow you greater control and a greater sense of progress, which will enable you to stay motivated and continue on your journey. Repeated inputs also help shape your identity, to ultimately become the person you envisioned in your ideal lifestyle. As James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, writes, every action you take is a vote for the type of person you want to become. So going back to the example where we have decided to lose 10 pounds, you should firmly commit to the goal but then place that goal aside. We are definitely not going to review our goal every day as some experts suggest. Plus we will only measure the outcome at the end of the 60-day time frame, so put those scales away. Instead, we are only going to focus on the inputs, and it is the execution of these inputs that we will measure. In other words, if we take care of the inputs, the outcome will take care of itself. Obviously the inputs have to fit with the stated goal. So one input could be to intermittently fast for 16 hours every day, for the next 60 days. Another input could be to go to the gym 3 times a week, while another could relate to your diet. These types of inputs are easy to measure. You either do them or you don't, it's that simple. The next thing you need to do to ensure your plan is well executed, is to allocate time for each input. The main reason people give for not following through, or giving up on their dreams, is lack of time. While it is true that time is a limited resource, and there really isn't enough time to do everything you may want or need to do, you simply have to prioritize those inputs that will lead you to your desired goal. If you are not willing to prioritize these actions, then you may need to look again at your goals, or even the vision you have created for yourself, as it's possible that you have chosen a vision that doesn't quite align with your values and beliefs. But if your vision is right for you, then get committed. And if you are committed, then you need to take your 30, 60 or 90-day plan, whatever the case may be, and create a weekly action plan. This action plan should be drawn up each week, and every action should be scheduled. A key to getting the most out of this tactic is to be really specific with the time. It is no good saying you will go to the gym sometime next week. You have to be intentional and say, I will be going to the gym for 40 minutes at 6:30 a.m. on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, without fail. It is vital that once you've scheduled a critical action, treat that time as already taken and guard it resolutely. A weekly action plan also helps prevent decision fatigue. What do I mean by this? A weekly plan means that all the decisions related to your goal have already been made before the week's even started. Decisions about when you go to the gym, what meals you are having, and when to start your daily fast, etc. This prevents poor decision making later in the week. Imagine coming home after a tough day at work, you are feeling tired, and you haven't planned your week in advance. Be honest. Will you be able to make good decisions about what to have for dinner and whether you should go to the gym tonight or wait until tomorrow morning? Don't simply rely on your willpower to get you through tough days, build a system that sets you up to win. At the end of each week, measure your progress. The aim is to at least have completed 90% of all the inputs you have set yourself. Anything less and you could potentially fall short of achieving your goal, and you may need to adjust your plan. So we are now moving to the A, in our ideal model. You may want to adjust your plan for various reasons. As already discussed, an important element of lifestyle design is to experiment to find out what works for you and what doesn't. For instance, as part of your plan to lose 10 pounds, you may have identified running as a weekly action. However, you may decide that you don't like running. This is okay, as the goal wasn't to become a runner, it was to lose 10 pounds, so you can try other actions like swimming or cycling, and find out if you prefer these instead. You may also need to adjust your plan if your goals aren't challenging enough. Being challenged is important in staying motivated and maintaining focus. A challenging goal can also be one of the many forms of leverage that you can use to achieve your ideal lifestyle faster. This leads us to the last part of the ideal model, which is L for leverage. There are many forms of leverage, and this concept has been expressed in various ways. The 80-20 principle, which has gained a lot of popularity in recent years, is just one example of the power of leverage, which is summarized as 80% of all our business and life results coming from just 20% of our efforts. One book that I would recommend, if you are wanting to explore this concept in more depth, is titled The 80-20 Principle by Richard Koch. An example of how the 80-20 principle can be applied to a business is by identifying the 20% of products that account for 80% of profits, by sorting products by sales numbers and profit. Richard Koch gives an example where he identified 3 main products for an electronics company, which accounted for around 20% of sales, but generated over half of total profits. The power of leverage was utilized by increasing the profits by prioritizing these 3 products, and by focusing time, money, and effort in selling more of them. However, what I like about the 80-20 principle is that it can be used for any area in your life. In his book, The 4-Hour Workweek, Tim Ferriss talks about how he dissected his business and personal life through the lens of 2 questions. The first question was, which 20% of sources were causing 80% of his problems and unhappiness, and the second was, which 20% of sources were resulting in 80% of his desired outcomes and happiness. The goal, he writes, is to find your inefficiencies in order to eliminate them, and to find your strengths so you can multiply them. By doing this exercise, Tim Ferriss was able to change his life and enable the lifestyle he now enjoys. So, why not use the power of leverage, as well as the other tools discussed in this video, to make changes in your own life, to enable you to also live your ideal lifestyle? I hope you found this video interesting. If you did, please remember to like and hit the subscribe button, and thanks for watching.